Shalom, everyone, and we are studying the Parashah of Devarim, the first Parashah in the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, the fifth book of the five books of Moses. And it is a very, very powerful one, raising many, many questions. And it's also very hard to understand because Parashat Devarim is always being read before the 9th of Av, the day of so many calamities. It's in the midst of the 3 weeks, but in the more negative part, which is called the 9 days, from the first day of Av, which is tonight, to the 9th day of Av. We're talking about a time that, on one hand, on the superficial level, it's a time of mourning, which means the many of Jewish traditions. It's about the busy with the mourning of the destruction of the temple, first temple, the second temple. So many calamities happen during this time, so it's a time of mourning, and people are kind of either sad, they try to make themselves sad, or they try to avoid being happy. Very hard time on the superficial level. However, I already mentioned that last week, it is on the superficial level only. Yes, it is a very enigmatic time. It is a very hard time to understand, and it's not supposed to be easy. However, the main idea to understand this time is when we read the book of Lamentation, and it says in chapter 1, verse 3, Kol rodfea isigua ben hametzarim, which on one hand, the way to translate it, the simple way, all her enemies, the enemies of the nation of Israel, the enemies of the Shekhinah, they chase her, they persecute her, and they brought her to be caught in between in the narrow places. That's the simplistic understanding. However, when you go deep into spiritual understanding, and then you have so many Kabbalists who say, there's a different way to read it. Kol rodfei ya, whoever is after the connection to the Youdkevitch, which means the upper three, the secrets of this universe, the upper three which are being represented by the two letters Yud and Hey, rodfei ya, the ones who pursued the Youdkevitch, the upper three sfirot, the invisible, the mysteries, the real truth beyond what the eyes can see and the brain can think about. Hisigua, they will achieve a perception, which means the word lasaga means, whoever study any kind of Jewish spirituality, the word asaga has one very exact meaning. It means the ability to achieve the pursuit, which means to reach perception, to reach understanding on the higher level, not just the verbal level or the brain level, something that is on the soul level, Bein HaMetzarim, which means during these 3 weeks, this is the time to find, to pursue, to achieve, to reach the highest levels of perception of spiritual awareness during this time. Okay, so we are just in the midst of these two basic ideas, mourning or high level of perception. And the answer is that you can't have one without the two. You cannot have redemption without exile. But what's the difference? So in Hebrew, the word for exile is golah. Gola is when somebody is being removed, disconnected from its own place. Gola. But redemption is Geula. Geula, what's the difference? One letter, Aleph. Gola is the exile, disconnection. Geula, redemption, reconnection, is added one Aleph. And what is the letter Aleph about? The letter Aleph is about the connection to Alufo Shel Olam, the master of the universe. That is what the Aleph is about. Aleph is about Aluf. Aluf, the champion, the master, the one who leads. Who leads the story? Who can see? And also the letter Aleph is about sight. It's about all, light. So this parasha is all about the ability to achieve sight, to achieve real, true sights of the real eyes of the soul, not the physical eyes that are blinded. Because the physical eyes, this is a big, big hoax. This is what, when we talk about propaganda, when we talk about deception, when we talk about lying, it's all about what the physical eyes and the physical brain show us. They show us only deception. We're talking about the real sight, the sight of what is really behind, what all the deception that the physical senses present to us, and also our brain with all its noise of evil inclination, of fear, of lust, and cravings, and ego, and all of that stuff, all of that together, that is the basic facade of deception, and which means that during this time of the year, we have a very high, it's like an open gates that are opening, especially only for the ones who really want to achieve that revelation. And that is seeing what is real, seeing beyond the deception, beyond the lies, beyond the hoax. So, how do we see it in this parasha? So first of all, we have to understand the book of Deuteronomy is not exactly the Torah. It is part of the 5 books of Moses. However, the 5 books of Moses, the part that is really coming from God, that part came till the end of the book of Numbers. From right now, if we read the story, אלה הדברים אשר דיבר משה אל כל ישראל בעבר הירדן. If you read chapter 1, verse 1, these are the words that Moses spoke to the whole nation of Israel. Okay? So this is the name of the book, the words, Devarim, that Moses spoke. It doesn't say these are the words that God spoke to Moses. That was in the book of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. But in the book of Deuteronomy, these are the words of Moses. Moses speaks those words when the fire is starting. It says very clearly, he is starting on the first day of the month of Shvat, and he talks for 5 weeks till the 7th day of Adar, and then Moses goes to the mount. He's never coming back with a physical body. Like Moses goes and disappears. So the whole story takes about 5 weeks. And this is the legacy that Moses is leaving to the world. Now, what is so the first parasha, Parashat Devarim, as somehow is kind of a compressed idea, because this is the legacy of Moses. The legacy of Moses, we have to understand, the legacy of Moses has changed since then 33 centuries ago, changed the way the world thinks, that the world looks at things, values things, evaluates things. It changed all the constitutions of every country on the face of the earth. It changed the culture. It changed the way we perceive reality, perceive ourselves, the way we vision ourselves, and it gave the world conscience. All of that is here in the words of Moses. Yes, it was a local leader of a nation of slaves that ran away, a nation of runaway slaves from Egypt. And today, these words basically, for thousands of years, their weight in the history of humanity is getting stronger and stronger. And the more the years pass, we need them even more than before. Why? We need conscience. We need values. We need ethics. We need the godly, universal morals of the Torah, 5 books of Moses, and this is the summary. From today, for the next months, we are going to read the book of Deuteronomy. We're going to finish it on Simchat Torah. And when we finish that on the same day, we start to read Genesis all over again, and the cycle of a new year will start. So basically, the book of Deuteronomy is also the countdown till the new year, which means towards the end of the year, we start to do some accounting, evaluations about who we are, what is that we want to be. Was that year successful? What kind of a year we want to achieve? Understanding or taking the all the calculations of what happened to us in the past year. So this is the time to do all of these amendments and all these resolutions, and it is during this reading of the book of Deuteronomy. So how do we see that? So let's start with a superficial layer. So אלה הדברים אשר דיבר משה. These are the words that Moses spoke. So what is he talking about? Rashi, the greatest commentator of all time, although he lived 1,000 years ago in France, he's still the greatest of them all. And he says as follows. By the way, Rashi did not invent anything. Like most scholars, they always brought to writing stuff that was known before, but from an angle that others could not see before. So Rashi basically took all the sources of writings, of commentaries on the Torah, from the Midrash mostly, from the Talmud, and he just put them together in a way that gets us to understand somehow, in the best way that nobody ever did like him, understand not just the 5 books of Moses, we're talking about the whole 24 books of the Tanakh and the Talmud, okay? And he didn't live for 200 years. He did it relatively in a very short time. So אלה הדברים, Rashi says, לפי שהן דברי תוכחות. What are we talking about? Tochachot means that the words of Moses, he is coming to reprimand the Israelites. ומנה כאן כל המקומות שהכיסו לפני המקום בהן. And he's counting over here to the Israelites. That's how he starts all the places that the children of Israel misbehave, basically. So he's like talking to little kids, if you're looking on that side. ולפיכך סתם את הדברים והזכירם ברמז. On one hand, he's like covering it up. He's just hinting. משום מפני כבודם של ישראל. Because he did not want to, he was respecting. He did it in a very respectful way. But still, he's reminding the Israelites all their the worst moments. Because if you look at the text itself, אלה הדברים אשר דיבר משה אל כל ישראל, and these are the words that Moses spoke to the whole of Israel, בעבר הירדן, across the river Jordan, במדבר, in the desert, בערבה, in the prairies, Mosuf, in front of the Red Sea, בין פרן ובין תופל ולבן, he's mentioning all kind of places that are stretching all over from where they were standing to deep into the Sinai and the Red Sea. So where did he say that? He's just hinting all of those places that the Israelites basically didn't do well. The worst moments. So, and then he's mentioning more cases in which the Israelites basically, as we said, mess it up. While saying that, we read something very special. On one hand, he's saying, let's say, read in chapter 1, verse 8, ראה נתתי לפניכם את הארץ, בואו ורשו את הארץ אשר נשבע. See, I gave in front of you the land, come and inherit the land that God promised your forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. ואמר אליכם בעת ההיא, and I said to them at that time, I cannot bear alone the burden of you because, what can I say? Trouble, it's very hard. Eicha Isa, and he's using on the word Eicha. Verse 12, Eicha. Eicha is the name of the book of Lamentation. So he's hinting over here that that's going to end not so nice. I cannot bear alone your burden, your quarrels, your so it sounds like he's complaining. At the same time, go to verse 10. Adonai Elohechem hirba etchem v'inechem hayom kekokvei hashamayim la'ov. God, your Lord, multiplied you, and today you are like so many, like the stars of the heavens. Verse 11, Adonai Elohei avotechem yosef alechem kachem 1,000 פעמים. יברך אתכם כאשר דיבר לכם. And God, the Lord of your fathers, will add upon you, like you, 1,000 times, and will bless you, like he promised you before. So, I think these are some of the most loving words ever written in history. The Lord of your fathers will add up upon you 1,000 times, will bless you like he spoke to you. So are you reprimanding them or are you blessing them? The Zohar says, not here, we don't have a Zohar on Parashat Devarim. It is somehow concealed. A lot, we know, big part of the Zohar, maybe the majority, was lost along the generations as it was hidden and passed from one person to another secretly till the 13th century. When it was revealed in the 13th century, only a major bulk was revealed, but there was another revelation of another bulk and another bulk. But still, this is just a minority, some say, of the big original bulk of the words of the Zohar. And we have nothing from the book of Deuteronomy. However, we have a commentary about this verse in the book of in the Zohar about Parashat Bamidbar. And it says over there like this, Rabbi Yitzchak Patach, come and see, בואו ראה, מי שאומר שבחו של חברו, של בניו או של ממונו, whoever is mentioning the praises of his friend, which is the success of his life, his children, his monetary success, his business success, should bless. צריך לברך אותו ולהודות על ברכות. Should bless that person he's talking about, and to thank for these blessings. Minayin, how do we learn that? Mimoshe, we learned from Moses, from these verses exactly, verse 10 and 11 in Deuteronomy 1. As it says, and God, the Lord of your Lord multiplied you. And today you are you're so many like the stars of the heavens. What does it say later on in the next verse? And the Lord, God, the Lord of your fathers, your forefathers, will add upon you like you 1,000 times. שתי ברכות הן. It's two blessings. אחת, השם אלוהי אבותיכם יוסף עליכם. One, Hashem, the God of your fathers, will add upon you. This is one. לאחר מכן, later on, ויברך אתכם כאשר דיבר לכם, he will bless you like he spoke to you, which means to be thankful for that, which means these are blessings upon blessings. ואם הוא מונה את שבחו של חברו ואינו מוסיף עליו ברכות, if a person is speaking about how successful somebody is and he's not blessing him, הוא נתפס מלמעלה על כך תחילה. He will be caught above because of that. Which means when we speak about somebody and we mention that person's success, it has to be with love. You do not want to speak about somebody's success without doing it with love. If you say it in annoyance, how come he succeeded and I did not? You'll be caught about it yourself. Why? Because you're not excited about somebody else's success and you're not really appreciating that. That's a very important thing. So you see, on one hand, Moses is like kind of complaining about how tough was it for 40 years to lead the Israelites, that most of the time they were complaining, okay? On the same time, he is so lovingly speaking about their success, like a mother speaking about the success of her children, like a grandfather that is so proud about the success of his grandchildren, or grandmother, the success of her grandchildren. This is, you can see how there's a mixture of love on one hand and criticism. And basically we understand over here, you cannot criticize somebody you don't really care for. If you criticize somebody just because he annoys you, you better shut up. Why? The Zohar says, no, just to mention, if you criticize somebody and just speak about what's wrong with them, what will happen to you? And the Zohar says, if you speak about somebody's blessings and just mention the blessings, okay, you're going to pay for it because you'll be judged. So that's when you speak about how great somebody is, okay, without blessing him. So when you say, wow, you have such a nice career, immediately you have to say, and I wish you to be even more successful, that you will never stop and you'll have more and more success. If you don't do that, you'll be caught. Why? The Zohar says immediately you'll be brought, your case will be brought to heavenly court, and they are going to check, do you really deserve all what you've got? Maybe you don't really deserve, but we've been some kind of lenient about you. We gave you some time because you don't really deserve all of it. You deserve some punishment, but we were waiting till you are going to repent, but you did not. So let's consider punishment right now. Why is it like this? And the answer is very simple. when you mention somebody's success and you're not really happy about it, you mention that person's success in a way of how come? How come they are successful and I'm not so successful? It's like, God, why do you love them more than you love me? In that moment, you're just putting a blemish in yourself, not in the other person, in yourself. Because somehow you're not appreciating what you've got and you bring judgment upon yourself. So don't ever speak about others' success without blessing them, without being excited about their success. Why? Because, you know, where it says very clearly, Kinat Sofrim Tarbe Chochma. Yes, jealousy is a horrible, horrible trait. Why jealousy will take you to hell even before you die. Because people are jealous, they have no life. It's like they're still being roasted alive in purgatory. Okay? That's what jealousy does to people, unless there's a kind of jealousy. You see somebody else's success and you're so appreciative of that because you allow that to impress you, saying, look, that person is so successful, is so inspiring, and I'm going to try to follow his way. So I'm appreciating the lesson I'm learning from that person. Okay, so that kind of jealousy, the jealousy that gives you the ability to be impressed, to be inspired, that jealousy will take you to the highest places. How do you have that jealousy? When you see somebody's success and you are so thankful for their success that it allows you to be impressed and to be inspired. That will give you the power. If they made it, I can make it too. Because I believe in success, I believe in positivity, which is a very, very powerful message. So when we hear the words of Moses, we realize when he talks about to the Israelites and he's mentioning all their mistakes, he's not doing it to get even. You know, I've 5 weeks till I leave. For 40 years, I was silent. For 40 years, I didn't say anything. Now it's time to set the account. Now it's time, I don't owe anybody anything anymore. I have 5 more weeks. I'm going to say what I wanted to say. I'm going to get even with you and I'm leaving. No, this is not the case. How do we know? Because one of the most inspirational texts ever is the text of the book of Deuteronomy. You read this book again and again and again, and it will never be enough. The inspiration that you get from this book is so powerful that there are some sages who say you should read this book all year round just to get inspired. What is the main word over here? So here we had the words, dvarim, but let's say read on verse 8. ראה נתתי לפניכם את הארץ. See, the word ראה. The word re'eh appears a few times. Along the whole book of Deuteronomy, it appears many more times. There's even a parashah. A few weeks from now, it's called Parashat Re'eh, see, which means I'm giving you the option to see. I recommend you to see. I open for you a site that you can be impressed from. And because tonight is also Rosh Chodesh Av, Menachem Av, this is the new moon. Tonight is the new moon of the month of Leo, the month of Menachem Av. And how do you say Leo in Hebrew? Aryeh. Aryeh is a lion, but it's the same letters as Re'iyah, sight. which means we know that the lion, the Leo, is the leader. The lion is the head of the pack. The lion is the king of the animals. He is the symbol of kingdom. In many, many places around the world, the symbol of the regime, government, power is the lion. The seal of the lion. It is very, very common. The king, the person in charge, is in charge because he has the ability to see what others do not have to see. So when we are talking about the entrance, the beginning of the new month of Leo, we are basically talking about a month of revelations, sight, the ability to see things we cannot see usually. And that goes along with all those points, if you connect the dots that we mentioned before in the book of Deuteronomy, in the readings, in the month of Leo. It's about sight. What kind of sight? So it's not just the sight of the physical eyes. It's a different sight. We are talking about the sight of what is hidden behind the physical illusion. Behind the physical illusion of the physical brain, of the materialistic brain. For us, this is a whole month of a gift. And the gift is the gift that when we can ascend to the realm of spirituality, what happens at the end of the book? Moses ascends to the other world. There's no place of burial. He ascends a hole to the upper world. And that's what Moses is about. Moses is about that message to humanity that the world that your brain, your eyes, your five senses, whatever perceive, this is a world of illusion. This is just a shade, a shadow of the real world. There is another world and you're supposed to look for that world. And what are the tools? You have to re-educate your mind. You have to re-educate your heart. You have to remove the negativity from your heart so your mind can see. When you have that commitment to fight the evil inclination, when you have the commitment to fight whatever is evil, first in yourself and then in the world around you, only then you have the road starting to open in front of you, that when you are having that commitment to all of those ideas, all of those values that Moses is mentioning in this book, the whole 5 books of Moses, and especially the summary in the book of Deuteronomy. When you can commit to those ideas, you have the chance to start having sight, the ability to have sight. The sight that most people don't see. Where it says, the prophet is saying, "Enayim laim velo yaru." They have eyes, but they cannot see. "Oznaim laim velo yishma'u." They have ears, but they cannot hear. Which means, why? Because when your heart, says the prophet, is full of fat, because your heart is full of whatever is heavy and materialistic, and that what occupies your heart, your wills, your desires, then your eyes won't be able to see. The picture will be laid in front of you, but you won't have the ability to see. You will see only what your noise inside from the burden of your heart and your heavy brain will show you, and you will never be able to really see what this life is about. So Rabbi Zachariah is saying, what Moses is saying is giving us a hint. What is this world about? So what is he talking about? We said in the beginning, we had this question, why is he talking about all of these places? Because it says these are the words that Moses spoke to all Israel, but then he mentions so many places. And what the Arizal is saying, basically, you can read it in Sefer Alikutim about the book of Deuteronomy, that basically he's talking about, yes, the world was created in a perfect state, hinting to Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And Genesis 1:5, and there was a night, there was a day, one day. Everything was perfect. From God's point of view, everything was created in a perfect state of harmony and completion. However, and everything was one. Then God had to break it down and create as the evolution of it. Basically was the way Rabbi Ezra describes it. It's a devolution from a perfect state to a state of confusion, diversion, deception. This is our world. And that is based on the breaking of the vessels, the tzimtzum, and then the breaking of the vessels, and all of these that are hinted in when we speak about 11 days from Chorev. What is Chorev? The Arizal is saying Chorev is, yes, it is a name, one of the names of Mount Sinai, but Chorev is also the same letters of the word destruction. Destruction, like cherev, it's a sword. It means fight. It means, even in Arabic, chab, war, or churban, destruction. God had to destroy the perfection so we, his creatures, can make our journey of finding the image of God being inside each one of us by overcoming all of that chaos and destruction. So why is it that we have to face destruction? Why do we have to face misunderstanding, stupidity? Why do we have to face all of those questions of why do bad things happen to good people? Why is it? Because the world had to create. In the creation, the world was created in a perfect state, but it had to be broken. So when we reveal behind the facade, behind the deception, when we reveal the unity of the universe, the oneness of the universe, it is really ours to reveal. In order for us to reveal that, we need to allow that to happen. We need to ascend above the noise of evil inclination, the noise of misunderstanding, the noise of disbelief, the noise of annoyance, the noise of, no, it's not fair, and why things are not fair in this world. Only when we commit to the journey, and that's what Moses is speaking about. There is a journey, and the journey is the journey to overcome all of those lacks, failures, and whatever Moses is mentioning. So when you see that, you realize that all of these words in the book of Deuteronomy were said with so much love that Moses is trying to put in our hearts the understanding of the huge love the Creator has to all of his creatures. However, in order for us to experience that love, we have to earn it. And earning it means being able to see it. To be able to see it, we need to allow that to impress us. We need the same way somebody is standing in front of a major scientific discovery. Somebody is standing in front of a major, a natural miracle. Sunrise, just rain, a little sprout coming out from the ground. Just simple, you see a child breathing, a person falling and getting up, a heart pumping. There's so many miracles happening every second, but to be able to allow these miracles to impress us, which is called lehitpa'el. We need to allow ourselves to be impressed. And that's called sight. This is exactly what we're talking about. This is the gift that we can get during this time, during the 9 days of Av and the rest of the month of Av. That sight, it's not the sight to see, just to be able to see where is the economy going to, or where these relationships, where they're going to. This is nonsense. It's important, but it's a derivative of the ability to see the miracles happening every second, every moment. That, yes, our eyes see chaos, we see resentment, we see injustice, we see pain and suffering, destruction, we see churban, we see cherev, we see so much, and especially nowadays, you just listen to the news, you just read from all over the world, and it's just like a tide, a tide of a wave, like a tidal wave of chaos and hatred. It's not just anti-Semitism, it's just everywhere. The whole world is into such chaos, unbelievable chaos, that you think it's like beyond any kind you can imagine. And then you realize the next day it's getting worse. And it's getting even worse than that. By day, in the middle of that, to be able to realize, to have that sight that everything is orchestrated for one purpose and one purpose alone, to allow humanity to reveal the godliness within each one of us. We tried to avoid it. We tried till the beginning of this decade. We tried to drown ourselves in so much, how would I say, running after physical fulfillment. Food, traveling, clothing, whatever, it doesn't matter. Each one of us, we were so deep up beyond our ears into materialism. That was the religion, the main religion. Even people declare themselves as religious. We're into that. And now, the last few years are simply first the corona, and then we are coming with the wars, and it's one after another. All of these plagues, it's all about one thing. If you cannot open your eyes and to see the word of God everywhere, to see the sight of God everywhere, if you're not after that, looking around, looking for that, and trying to clean and clear the inner noise, you won't be able to be impressed. Whatever you see, as it says, I think in this book, in Deuteronomy, Va'ita meshuga mimarei einecha. You will get crazy just from the sight that of your eyes. Whatever you see will get you crazy. And today we can see people are either trauma, post-trauma, or something in between. And I think psychology is right now going very in a place of such a challenging, because the pressure all over the world about the collapse of all the old-fashioned institutions, family, community, state, whatever. It's more not just falling apart, it's devastated. So all of this, Moses, with so much love, is mentioning our downfalls, not to tell us how terrible we are, because you don't say that to people, only to help us to get that sight, that ability to be impressed by the miracles that happen every split second, everywhere around the planet, the whole universe, just for us to be able to get up and never stop trying. This is what the whole story is about. And the most of it, the most powerful of it is you can find in in this coming Shabbat. This coming Shabbat is always the Shabbat before the 9th of Av, is always the Shabbat of the reading of the book of the Parashat Devarim, but this Shabbat is always called Shabbat Ḥazon. Ḥazon means vision. What is vision about? So I repeated it many times. Modern psychology, what is called a new school of positive psychology, is speaking about positive psychological capital, which means who are the people who have the ability to make big physical capital? These are the people that have a positive psychological capital. And what do you need to have positive psychological capital? You need to have a vision. You need to be optimistic. You need to be able to have that sight and perseverance that we describe in the book of Deuteronomy. But more than that, this is the definition of Shabbat Ḥazon. What is Shabbat Ḥazon about? So, I repeat that almost every year this time. The words of the Ohev Israel, the Opter Rebbe, where it says, אשר שבת חזון הוא יותר גדול במעלה מכל שבתות השנה. This Shabbat, Shabbat Ḥazon, is the greatest Shabbat of all the Shabbatot of the whole year round. הדרך שנשאלתי פעם אחת לבאר המדרש, דהית שם, לא היה יום מועד לישראל כיום שנחרב בית המקדש. Where it says that the day of the 9th of Av, that was Shabbat, the destruction of the temple, was the greatest holiday ever. It's not a holiday. It's a disaster. We're still paying for, let's say, if the temple, if Beit HaMikdash was not destroyed some almost 2,000 years ago, okay? And it was still the temple of the Jewish people. How many political problems, not just for the Middle East, for the whole world, would have been saved, wouldn't be happening anymore. It's like the destruction was the seed of, if you speak about what's the center point of right now, the big problem in the Middle East that nobody knows how to solve it, that the whole world knows, that the whole world goes into a horrible war that can bring into World War III, that basically it already started, but nobody knows how would that develop in the next second, not in the next hour or day or something like this. Everything no one can predict or see against sight. Where is it going? But the whole world can be destroyed in this war, okay? And everybody's tiptoeing on their toes because they're so much afraid. Because when that erupts, the whole planet can fall into it, like into a war that the world never experienced before, that is going to dwarf World War I and World War II. Okay? And all of this goes around what? The Temple Mount. Al-Aqsa. Okay? Beit al-Mikdash. The Arabs, they call it Beit al-Mikdash. What's Beit al-Mikdash? It's Hebrew, Beit al-Mikdash, the house of the temple, right? It's all centered, the battlefield, the name of the war, the name of the battalions, the name of the armies, it's all about that place. That is the beginning of its destruction, but that's also the final point of redemption. Gola and Geula. Where do you find the redemption? When you put the Aleph, the light of the Master of the Universe, into their exile, into the state of disconnection, fear, anxiety, lack of sight, giving up. When you put the Aleph inside, when you allow that light to come in, when you allow that light to impress you, when you let it in, that's the only difference between redemption and exile. Then the redemption will be here, personally or worldwide. So that day, so why are we saying that that Shabbat is the greatest holiday of them all? אומנם בשום שכל והרת לב, the hint is, it says in the Talmud, Tractate Yevamot, page 62b, that before a person leaves home for a long journey, he must be with his wife. And what does that mean? It means when a husband and wife are together, before he leaves for a long journey, God will instill in that man the power to instill in his wife hope, loyalty, and vision, which means vision is the ability to see something nobody can see. Only you can see it. It's so strong, it's so powerful. It masters your behavior. It gives you resilience. It gives you guts. It gives you courage. It gives you the ability to never give up till you get your mission accomplished. Okay? This is what they call today positive psychological capital, which means you need that state of mind. When the temple was destroyed, it was like the nation of Israel was going into a long, dark exile, long journey. And when we're talking about Mount Sinai revelation, we're talking about a union of wedding between a groom and a bride, God and the nation of Israel. So if this is the story, this is when, like, the groom is going through a long journey, and there's going to be a long, 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 dark winter of anticipation and waiting for him to come back. That's called the exile. So on that Shabbat, with Shabbat the bride, which is a union between the groom and the groom and the bride, on that Shabbat, God gave the nation of Israel such a force of union that was supposed to last for 2,000 years. And it did. How do we know? The impossible did happen. And for the last 2 centuries, we see how the Zohar and the Talmud predicted that slowly, slowly, the nation of Israel will start to come back to their homeland. They will start to rebuild the desolated mountains and hills and valleys all over the land that were desolated, and places of destruction, and they will rebuild them. And the whole world will watch it, and some will be amused, and some will be totally upset about it. And that is happening in front of our eyes. How could that happen? How could the anticipation, and the anthem of the state of Israel is Hatikva, the hope. Where did we get that hope implanted in us, in each Jewish heart? The hope that all of this horrible darkness is just temporary. Sooner or later, there will be a redemption. So all over the world, when people were praying towards Jerusalem 3 times a day, when people ate, and after what they ate, part of the blessing was, and let us come back to Jerusalem. If you ate a cookie, if you ate cake, if you ate the bread, if you ate fruits, part of the blessing was always coming back to Jerusalem and never. So, which means the laws of lost, when you lose something or somebody robs it away from you. But the laws of the Torah, if the person that was robbed or lost, whatever lost, as long as they didn't give up on their loss, it's still theirs. And because it was mentioned few times every day. So where little kids were studying the Torah and they were dreaming about Joseph and his brothers. They were dreaming about Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rivka, more than they were dreaming about the mountains and valleys of their home, the countries they were born and their parents were born in. They lived in Israel in their minds, in their anticipation. That was all thanks to one thing, the vision that was instilled in each heart on that Shabbat, Shabbat Ḥazon, Shabbat Devarim. That Shabbat, the 9th of Av, on that Shabbat, the power was so strong. Remember, every year we celebrate Rosh Hashanah. We celebrate the elongated Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Simchat Torah, and so on. All of that is because it is said that on Rosh Hashanah till Simchat Torah, the Creator is giving us life for another year. Only for 1 year. And because of that, when the year is over, we have to come back and ask for life for another year. Okay? After that is instilled and established, comes Shabbat. Shabbat is more powerful than Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because Shabbat, every Shabbat, you get the ability, the power to change, to divert reality to the better, but only for 1 week. So you get every Shabbat. Why? Because everything is already being decided from Rosh Hashanah till Simchat Torah. So after everything is being decided already, to divert and change destiny, it's very hard. So you need Shabbat. The Shabbat has to be much more powerful. Okay? So Shabbat, but that Shabbat, Shabbat Ḥazon, the Shabbat of the destruction of the temple, the power that came to this world, it was the power to overcome depression, to overcome giving up, devastation, trauma, not for 1 week, not for 1 year, for 2,000 years. So, as Rabbi Zaklorei teaches us, when a huge amount of energy is being revealed in this world, when it's powerful enough, it registers so strong on the wheel of time. That's Chag, a holiday is Chag in Hebrew. Every time when the same day comes again, the same tune is being played again, which means this month, this week, this Shabbat, this is the time for us to pray and to ask for vision, for perseverance, for resilience. This is where we ask to have the ability to see when we give up all the negativities, all the mishaps, all the failures, our own failures, everybody else's failures. And we just stick to the vision that sooner or later, there's the Mashiach waiting for all of us to do our job, to get our act together. So when we really live that vision, that is when Mashiach comes to all of humanity. And what does it mean to live that vision? That the light is stronger than darkness. That humanity is basically was created in the image of God, and sooner or later we are all going to see that. And then we can appreciate really the creation. We can really enjoy it every moment. And that message is so precious because that message is the secret of success of every individual, every society. When your own life is being run by that vision, when it's a society, when it's a state, when it's the whole of humanity is being run by that vision, we will make it. The whole fight is finally to find that vision. So that's our mission this week and the whole month. Good luck in that mission to all of us. Thank you.